Assalamu alaikum gentlemen. On behalf of Learning and Sharing Project, I welcome you to this presentation. This is HOSSAIN as your host. In this presentation, I will demonstrate the determinants of economic activity. So stick with me. Okay, that's our second slide. Whenever we asked why we should study economic activity, I will say why we don't. There is some objective to study economic activity, just like to relate economics with geography, to get idea about how occupation changes, knowing about the boosters and hinders on developing an economy, how social condition manipulates the economic growth. Of course, there is another objective to study economic activity. Yes, I think you got it. Everyone, all of us, wants to score a high CGPA in the undergraduate. That's why we must study the economic activity in our course. This presentation contains the definition and basic idea of economic activity, the determinants factor behind economic activity, and it has two subdivisions, economic factors and non-economic factors. Firstly, I was told to demonstrate just only the determinants factor behind economic activity, but I think I should add the definition also. Okay gentlemen, that was the intro part. Let's roll on to the main presentation. So, what is economic activity? Let's know about it. To the next slide. The basic idea of economic activity refers to all those activities that includes earning wealth or money or providing the service or sustainability to any product. That is a economic activity. To elaborate, we must say the activity of making, providing, purchasing or selling goods or service. We can also say any action that involves producing, distributing or consuming products or service is an economic activity. Economic activity is a very interesting thing on itself. Let's know about it. Second slide is, this slide contains the determinants of economic activity. All those factors that manipulate the economic activity is the determinants. So we can say that manipulating means determining. Okay, the determinants factors are economic factor and non-economic factor. We will discuss about this to the following. In the first picture, there is Muslim praying on the mosque. The second picture, the middle top, a man is giving service to other man. The middle bottom shows a tractor is plowing the land to cultivate crops. The last and fourth picture, it seems someone is helping each other. So we can say that the first picture and the last picture is not an economic activity because there is no relation of money in those activity. If someone prays, he doesn't get money, or if someone help each other, he also doesn't get money. So it don't includes economic activity. Economic factor is the major factor that determines the economic activity of a particular country. Economic factor tells that the development of a particular country is going on or not. This includes natural resources such as gas, oil, reservoirs, human resources such as educational institute, the skill of the people, extent of market, means how big the market is and how the consumer of the country was. Growth-oriented economic agency, this includes the banks, the loan agencies, or etc. And the last one, structural changes. That is the capability to the human resources to change its profession and shift from one to another. That is the structural changes. I will discuss description about it to the following slide. Yes, natural resources. Natural resources is a major subject that manipulates the economic factors. According to Lewis, natural resources determines the path of progress. The more existence of a natural resources in a country, the more possible to grow that. If we take Saudi Arabia or Iran as an example, the Saudi Arabia is progressing from the last 50 years as much as possible they could because they have the most largest oil reservoir in the world. If we take example of Iran, it has the second largest oil reservoir in the world. Under the suspension of economic from USA, the country is developing day by day because it has the natural resources and that is the key to a country's economic development. And we can take example from the Middle East country that have the huge natural resources, and they are implying to their economic activity and they're developing it. Before going to the second subject of economic factor, let's know about vicious cycle of poverty. It means Doridrer Dushtu Chakra. So how we define this cycle? So if we focus that if a country has a low income or poor capital, there will be low consumption. And if someone low consume, there will be low amusement. And low amusement means low investment. And low investment means low productivity. And low productivity directly focus to low income. And that's how the cycle continues. So the vicious cycle of poverty is a main cause to underdevelopment of human resources. If any country can get rid of this vicious cycle of poverty, it may prosper in their economic life and they will develop their economic activity. Here is the human resources, the second most manipulator of an economic activity. If we see the positive approach of human resources, there is labor availability, low wages, low production cost, and growth of productivity. If we take example of China, Russia, Malaysia, or Singapore, they using their human resources to make productivity. There are negative sides of human resources. The negative sides of human resources is rises when the human resources are not capable to maintain their daily commodities by themselves. If the negative sides rises, it will be the high consumption, the high rise of unemployment, pressure on natural resources gets high, and that's how low productivity. The country of South Asia is kind of an example of these negative sides of the human resources. To meet their daily fundamentals, they focus on the natural resources of a country. That's how the natural resources is pressurized, and the natural resources of that country is not perfectly used. Extent of the market is also play a vital role in economic factor. Economic development is influenced by the size of market. As a result of wide extent of the market, there is an increase in production and fall in production cost. Extent in the market means how big the consumer group is. For example, we can take the India. India is a large country with a large number of population, and India there is many and various kinds of brands. That's why the consumer group is larger and the supplier group is also larger. That's why the supplier make the production cost deducted, and that's how in India the production cost is falling. Economic agencies plays like a supporting hand to economic growth. Existence of growth-oriented economic agency is very important to achieve the objective of rapid rate of economic growth at lowest possible cost. Some of the main economic agencies are bank and financial institute. For example, we can take the Grameen Bank. The Grameen Bank is the first introducer to the microcredit. It helps the poor by funding them with different types of microcredit in lowest interest. That's how the economic agencies can push up the economic activity in a country. And the last one, the structural change. The structural change plays an important role to grow of an economy. Any of economic activity has main three activity: agriculture, industries, and service. Whenever a country is performing development, the inhabitants shift their activities. The more they shift their activity, the more one country is performing development. To know how structural changes works, we have to understand what disguised unemployment is. In some cases, human resources seems working and earning, but ultimately they are needless on the particular places. Such as 7 workers are spending 5 days on 1 hectare, but 5 workers can easily cultivate the land. That's how human resources got wasted and unequal distribution of wages. Mostly it happens in agriculture sector. This disguised unemployment got in through structural changes. The additional human resources shift their profession from agriculture to industries or service. If we want to find an analogy between a structural changes and pouring a jug of water, then we can say if we pour the jug as much as possible and then put a single drop of water, it will get wasted. If we don't waste the water and pour the water in another jar or glass, that will be the best decision and value of time and work. If we stop pouring water on the same jar and then shift the jar to another, then we can pour as much water as we want. And then if we shifting the jar continuous, then we can pour maximum and we can utilize the maximum water of we had. And that's how the structural changes works. If we have more human resources, then we should deploy them in different activity, such as if we deploy the maximum human resources on agriculture, there will be waste of the human resources, and that's why we have to distribute the human resources on different sectors, and that is the maximum outcome, and that's how we can expect the maximum outcome from our human resources. The non-economic factors are minor but not the least. It includes the desire of development, the spread of education and skill formation, political stability, social condition, religion determinations, the freedom from corruption, law and order situation. Let's discuss about it to the further slides. Desire of development is the first and foremost role of economic development. Whenever a nation wants to make an economic movement, of course, they need an intention to make it happen. Of course, for an economic movement, one nation have to desire for development. They have to unite first, they have to make decision, they have to make it happen, the economic movement. Otherwise, they cannot make the development of their economy. For example, we choose the Africa. In Africa, there is huge population and huge natural resources, but they cannot utilize it because they don't have the desire for development. Firstly, they have to reunite it. There are many tribals in Africa and they just hate each another. That's why they cannot prosper. Here comes the second non-economic factor, the education and skill formation. If one country's education and skill formation got high, their human resources, productivity, employment opportunity, income sources got high, and they can change profession easily. If we choose China as example, they had huge population. They skilled them with various technical abilities. That's why they increased their productivity, and that's why they had the most largest market share of electronics market. And they also can shift profession, and they also provide service to another country as outsourcers. And that's how education and skill formation changed China overnight. Here comes the third factor, political stability. On basis of political stability, the foreign as well as the domestic investor willing to invest in a particular project, because the economic policy has to be more convenient and stable for the investor. If we focus on the Europe, the whole European nation has a political stability. That's why the foreigners and the domestic investors willing to invest in various economic projects. That's why economic stability is very important for economic development. We know that in South Asia, there are political party who changes in every 5 years. If some of political party have different views from one another, they might changes the foreign and economic role for the country, and that is some kind of harassment for the foreign investors, and that's why foreign investors and domestic investors want a peaceful political stability. Social determinants may play a role in non-economic determinants. Social determinants include the discrimination on caste system or racism, discrimination on gender, discrimination with religion. If some country continues this, the country will not prosper according to their plan. If we focus on India, there are huge social discrimination. There are different types of caste, different types of religion, and different types of states in India. And there are also different types of languages. So it is quite impossible to make a bonding among them. That's why various social determinants and social discrimination on caste is found on income from corruption is associated to tax paying, not collaboration with government, not providing perfect wages and facilities to the employees. If a owner of a industry or some high-profile people do not tax pay or not provide the perfect wages and facilities to the employees, it may hinder the economic activity of a country. Last but not the least, law and order situation. This includes foreign policies regarding foreign exchange and business, rate of tax for the foreign investor, providing the facility for economic zone and foreign investors. If a foreigner or a company wants to invest in a low developed country, it is of course they need some facility and they need protection and they need proper rules and regulation for foreign policies. That's how they would relieve from future unexpectation and they would will to invest the least developed country. That's why the foreign policies should be better and the foreign business exchange policies also should be better for developing countries. Okay, that's the end. It is the last slide. That means you have completed this video. Thank you for being with me. You can also find me on Facebook. The link is given below.